We had a very good plan.
It's sometimes depends on the work.
It's all good. My book, I've done it.
And my side hustle, yeah.
You know, and I make it.
My dip, my dips and spices. My spice girl gig.
Oh, that's all right, because one of these days Doug's gonna get electrocuted by a Santa
It's
Claus.
like basically 12-inch dips and 12.
Oh, we'll smell his hair and
Yeah, I mean, just, well, like my Facebook says always.
I'll do this. Oh, he could be collecting
And
cattle.
Instagram.
Yeah. There's
And then
always,
some days there are a lot of farmers.
or trains.
Yeah, some. I do Bellevue. 41074 or something.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to welcome everybody to tonight's city council meeting. It's September 10th, 2024, at 7 o'clock on the nose. I appreciate everyone's promptness. Roll call, please, Ms. Klein.
Member Wyrick.
Here.
Member Levins.
Here.
Member Volter.
Here.
Member Neary.
Here.
Member Neiman.
Here.
Member Kelly.
Here.
Assistant City Administrator Barks.
Here.
City Attorney Edmondson.
Here.
Mayor Baker.
Here. We are missing City Administrator Jay Fawcett tonight. He's celebrating his anniversary on a trip with his wife, so we wish him a happy anniversary. Now, if we'd all please raise for a moment of silence and pledge of allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Next on my docket here, I have a public hearing to open a public comment on a new property tax rate at the compensating rate plus 4% revenue increase, 39.9 cents on each $100 of assessed valuation of real property. Anyone's welcome to speak if they like. I'm going to go ahead and close that in 5.
Do you want to talk about it?
This is a typical annual tax conversation where we Jared, help me out here, bud.
We have to have a public hearing if you're going to take 4% on top of the compensating rate. The compensating rate would be the same amount of revenue from the previous year. Because our rates have lowered significantly with the 4% increase, it's still a lower rate than the previous year.
15%, right?
15% decrease, yes.
We've seen
Why do we need this? Why are we doing this?
it's law.
For the public hearing or for the increase?
For the increase.
Most cities will utilize the 4% if what the state allows us to do year over year, compounds year over year. So every time that you do not take the 4% increase, you're losing out on revenue. And it compounds year after year. So as it goes on, you lose less and less money from it. So I know particularly Bellevue takes the 4% every single year. And it's typically a smart decision to take the 4% increase when your rates are lowering, because when it comes to the property tax bills that the individuals will receive, their bills are still going to be lower, even though the city is going to receive 4% more revenue. So it works in the city's favor and it works in the community's favor as well.
So they just lowered them, but now we're going to do this little raise because we can and because it's recommended.
Correct. So, I mean, even though the 4% increase, it is still a lower rate than the previous year.
So in my opinion, it's necessary to take the 4%. We have escalating costs in terms of personnel, police, fire, public works. Expenses continue to go up amount. And if you don't take the 4%, Beth, in about 10 years, you find yourself not being able to afford to have a city.
I know. I'd like
Bottom line.
I'd like to clarify it on video, not just run it by, but they hear what they have to say.
I'm okay with it.
And the 4% represents $44,400 more in property tax than we took in last year, which barely pays for any of our employees.
Are you not in favor of taking the 4%?
No, I want you to speak.
Oh,
I want you to speak.
okay.
I want it for the video so people understand and it isn't just read in 2 sentences. and
Okay.
Nobody says anything. I would like some conversation, some explanation for Jackson Creek.
Got
Thank
it.
you.
Thank you very much. So it's also open to public comment. If anybody would like to approach the council, administration, you're welcome to take the podium. All right, we will close it now. Next up is the mayor's report. This is a fun one. We have a new graduate in the house tonight. Officer Cooper, who's been with us for about a year now. And he's been with Officer Spears. And Officer Spears has been taking him to training and all these wonderful things. And now Cooper is an official K-9 cop. And he has passed through the North American Police Dog Working Association, the certificate for narcotic detection and searching. So we have a new K-9 officer. Jared, please.
You're such a good boy.
Oh, my God.
So happy. He is a good boy.
Enjoy the cat. Well, that's fun. Cute. Yeah, let's go home after that. No, we got some more work to do. But yeah, very proud of Officer Spears' work on that, and also, of course, Coop's continued dedication to the city of Dayton. Next up, we have a swearing in of the new police officer, Janine. I'm going to butcher your last name, and I really don't want to. Oh, she's not here? Miss Sarah? Okay, she shouldn't make it. Couldn't make it tonight. Oh, that's fine. Well, we'll look forward to seeing her next month. What you got there?
That'll be the next one on the list.
Promotion of Tony Michael Anthony Keene. Fantastic.
So this is just a certificate of promotion. Tony was promoted to the rank of sergeant. It's been almost a month and a half, 2 months, close to 2 months now. We were going to do it last month, but the agenda was 3 pages long, so I didn't want to add to it. So we postponed it for this council meeting. And this is just giving a certificate of promotion and congratulations to Tony Keene to the rank of sergeant.
Congrats, Sarge.
Congratulations, Sergeant Keene. I love when we promote from within, and Chief has been really adamant about that. So excellent job to your whole force, sir. Next up, when we have folks who are running for office, whether it's Campbell County, whether it's Dayton City, or national, state, come on, bring it. We always like to open up the podium for them. And tonight, Brant Owens has asked if he could have the podium to address council and the city and let us know about his campaign. Brant, the podium is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members and city officials. I'm a Newport resident, grew up in Bellevue, I'm a lifelong Campbell County resident. I'm here tonight to introduce myself as a candidate for Campbell County Conservation District Supervisor. I'm not here to give a campaign speech, just want to introduce myself and my campaign. If you'd like more information on me and what I'm running for, you can visit my website at brantowens2024.com. That's BRANTOWENS2024.com. And if you have any questions or want more information beyond that, you can contact me through that website. But I'd appreciate your consideration on the ballot in November. And let's hope I win. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Owens. Anyone have any questions for Mr. Owens? He's open for them. I appreciate your participation. And, again, the invitation's out to anybody running for office. You're always welcome to come here and let us know who you are and why you're running. Next on the docket would be the approval of minutes from the August 2024 meeting. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion to approve the minutes. from the prior
Motion's
meeting.
been made by Member Kelly. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Member Neiman. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Any abstentions? So be it. Now, we always like to open up the podium for anybody from the audience to address city council and city administration on agenda items for tonight's agenda. So if you have any conversation regarding tonight's agenda, you're welcome to have the podium. If you have something that's not for tonight's agenda, you're welcome to approach a little bit later. Anyone? All right, we'll go ahead and close that. Moving right along to the ordinances. Tonight, we're going to have the first reading of ordinance 2024-15. Ms. Klein, please.
An ordinance providing for the imposition, levy, collection, and apportionment of taxes for the city of Dayton, Campbell County, Kentucky for the fiscal year July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025.
Thank you, ma'am. And once again, that's just a first reading. Next will be the first reading of ordinance 2024-16. Ms. Klein, please.
An ordinance amending the text of the city of Dayton, Kentucky zoning ordinance to repeal old subdivision regulations and update the zoning regulations with new subdivision regulations.
Thank you, ma'am. The next first
Hold on a
reading.
second.
Oh,
Wait, I have a
yo.
question about that one. The first reading, an ordinance amending the text of the city of Dayton to repeal old subdivision regulations and update the zoning ordinance. So this is making way for new ordinances that in the future? What is this?
This is an ordinance that will repeal the pre-existing ordinance when it comes to subdivision regulations. I believe they're, doesn't say when, you typically during the 1960s, 1970s, obviously things have changed. So this is just updating the subdivision standards to today's standards. So Jay's been working with planning and zoning in Campbell County to update those with other cities. in the area.
So has he made specific new ordinances that are going in this place, or then we vote on those later?
It was in your packet, so all the regulations are.
So we're now voting on those. That's what this is.
Well, we're
Okay,
voting-
but it's the first reading.
Yeah, just the first reading.
Okay.
So what?
Introducing this to you.
Okay.
Yeah, so we got a whole month to read over and
Thank you.
bring up questions. Two more first readings for the evening. First one is first reading ordinance 2024-17. Ms. Klein, please.
An ordinance establishing a non-exclusive franchise for the use of the public streets, alleys, and other public grounds of the city for cable television systems, internet, or telephone services within the city and providing the terms thereof.
First reading of the ordinance 2024-17. And lastly, the first reading of ordinance 2024-18. Ms. Klein, please.
An ordinance of the Board of Council of the City of Dayton, Kentucky, providing for the creating of a franchise for the distribution of electrical and natural gas energy within the City of Dayton, Kentucky, defining the terms and conditions thereof, and providing for a bid procedure therefore, and alternatively providing for the payment of minimum franchise fee for all public utilities doing business in the City of Dayton, Kentucky, not now covered by a current franchise.
And again, that is just a first reading. We have a month to overlook. Bring up questions, and concerns. Next month, we'll vote on it. Moving right along. Here we go. Now we're on to the orders and resolutions section of our docket. This is going to be a long one,
Yeah.
Ms. Klein. You want to drink water, go for it. This is Order Resolution 2024-23 Romeo. Ms. Klein, please.
An order resolution of the City Council of the City of Dayton, Kentucky, authorizing the issuance of up to $7,500,000 maximum aggregate principal amount taxable industrial building revenue bonds, Series 2024A, and up to $1,500,000 maximum aggregate principal amount taxable industrial revenue bonds, building revenue bonds, Series 2024B, issued to assist SSWN Development, LLC, or its assigns, to finance the cost related to the acquisition, installation, construction, and equipping of an industrial building facility located within the city of Dayton, Kentucky, and to improve said facility, authorizing the issuance of additional bonds, providing for the pledge of revenues for the payments of said bonds, authorizing a lease agreement between the city of Dayton, Kentucky, and SSWM Development, LLC, or assigns with respect to the facility, the lease agreement authorizing a trust indenture appropriate for the protection and disposition of such revenues, and further to secure the payment of said bonds, authorizing a bond purchase agreement, authorizing a home office payment agreement, authorizing the execution of one or more open-end leasehold mortgage and security agreements with a joiner by the city, and authorizing a pilot mortgage to secure the payment obligations in the pilot agreement, which are pledged in part to the payment of the Series 2024B bonds, all subject to the consent of the Dayton Independent School District to subordinate the lien of the pilot mortgage defined therein to the lien of any additional mortgagees.
Well done, ma'am. So this is an order resolution, so we will be voting on it this evening. Do we have any questions or comments regarding Order Resolution 2024-23 Romeo?
I believe Mr. Parsons is here if you would like.
Oh, Mr. Parsons, wonderful. This is Jim Parsons from KMK Law.
Good evening, members of the mayor, members of council. I've been here before on these particular IRB resolutions. This is actually issuing the bonds for this particular project, a new project along the riverfront in Dayton. Just for the audience and for the council, the bonds we're talking about are not the debt of the city. The city is simply a conduit issuer for these. A number of the projects along the riverfront are under this particular structure. In this particular situation, in addition to the moving forward to allow the project to move forward, the city will actually receive 100% pilot payment from this. The county will also on this. And actually, so besides the city being protected, your TIF incentive and TIF agreements and stuff in place will be totally protected by the pilot agreement. So the real incentive that comes about is the partial incentive we'll get from the Dayton School District. They've already signed off on that because they approved the original pilot agreement for these deals. And there's a few of the special districts will get some benefit from. But again, these type of agreements have allowed a lot of the development to move forward on the riverfront. And again, the bonds, these particular bonds are under a series of bonds that were authorized by the city many years ago to move forward. We've already received all the approval of the state and local debt officer for the issuance of these bonds. So the last step is the approval of the city council to issue the bonds and to move the project forward. I will say that we have worked on this resolution with the city administrator as well as your special counsel, Donnie Warner, who signed off on this particular document too.
So this has gone through multiple of Dayton City Administration.
Yes.
And our allies, Donnie Warner, et cetera.
That's right. That's right.
Before it makes their way to council's desk.
That's correct.
Thank you.
So what are the names of the projects that this bond funds?
These projects, it says an industrial project, but this would really, the most of these projects along the riverfront, or all of them have been for residential projects. This is a new condominium project along the Dayton riverfront.
What's the name of it?
I think this one's called High Point.
High Point.
I believe it's the top of Berry here, right?
Yeah.
So an explanation, please. Maybe the city attorney can enlighten us about the payment in lieu of taxes, the pilot payments versus standard. They'll be at the standard property tax rate,
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah.
Will those payments be applied to the TIF?
Yeah. Well, maybe Alex, if you don't mind, I don't want to step on your toes, but I can, under the pilot agreement, the city will collect the pilot taxes at 100% of what is due based upon the PVA's assessment. So whatever the total combined state and local tax rates that are due, that will be the pilot payment. The city collects that. From that, the city keeps 100% of its rate. The county gets 100%. Now, when the city collects the county and the city rate, a portion of that goes to the TIF. The rest of it goes to the city's general fund. In addition to that, on the state rate portion, 100% goes to the TIF, to the city, to the TIF. And then the portion of the pilot tax, 50% from the library, health, and extension district goes to support your TIF for the riverfront. And then anything left over from that actually goes back to pay in a sense, to the developer as an incentive for the project. So it's a pretty small amount coming back to the developer in this case.
So this still falls under the 80/20 TIF rule?
That
as
is
far-
correct, yeah.
Okay. But my understanding is, correct me if I'm wrong, in an IRB situation, this property, and this is a $9 million bond, let's say it comes out at 9 million on
Yeah.
the PVA for the sake of discussion, that 9 million cannot be applied to our PVA property tax.
It does not. It does not go on the assessed value of the city.
Assessed value.
Basically, it's exempt from that. And which actually creates a benefit to the school district because they'll get a good pilot payment and actually they'll actually generate, because of that, they generate a net increase over what they would normally get, the way this works.
And has this plan, thanks for the explanation on pilot and TIF and everything else, because, and IRBs we've been warned about IRBs in the past to be a little bit more delicate about them. Has this project already been approved by planning and zoning?
I believe it has, and I believe the city actually adopted something in August relative to this particular project. I think it was on your agenda. I wasn't involved directly with that, Mr. Neary.
I'm not familiar with High Point at all.
There was something adopted in August because I
believe
saw
it's
the
up
documents
for
on that.
approval or for consideration on the 19th of this month.
Oh, it is coming back? Okay, so
Oh, it's
maybe
coming
it's,
back.
I thought it had already been approved.
I mean, I realize the value of IRBs and the need for them for these kind of developments. I got a problem with the design. This is 44 feet high at the highest point
Yeah.
on our flood wall. When we first talked to the developers, all the way back to Mr. Imboden, the original plans all along Manhattan Boulevard were, well, at that time, they were all single-family homes, which would be maybe 30, 35 feet high with to the top of the roof. But there were also sight lines built in at every one of our north-south streets, so there wouldn't be a blockage of the view going down the streets to the river or the other side of the river. This one impinges almost completely on the Berry Street view. I don't know how that applies to the IRB.
Yeah, it does not apply directly to the IRB, but if I was under the impression that you had already approved the zoning on this particular project to move forward. So if council wants to hold off on this until that's approved, I have no issues with that. That would be appropriate with them.
And that's on the 19th.
It's not a zoning issue. It'll be the design phase, which is what you're saying is happening on the 19th?
Yes, I was looking back at Jay's email that he sent, and he said the Dayton Planning Commission will consider the site plan approval for this project at its meeting on September 19th.
Would delaying this IRB request one more month impact the project?
Well, I would hope that we maybe could put it on the, first of all, if you approve this, it still doesn't relieve the project from getting all other approvals. This only allows the IRBs to go forward subject to the other approvals. So one doesn't impinge upon the other. If you prefer not to act on this until you have the zoning approvals in place, that's up to you. I have no real objection on that situation.
Understood.
I thought it was already done. Possibly if you're going to be doing this on the 19th, possibly we can come back on the 19th and consider time. I don't know what the schedule
Not on
is.
the 19th, it'll be at the next council meeting.
Okay.
following month.
It'll be the October 8th.
So the approval for the zoning is going to come back to us
Yeah.
no matter what, correct?
That's correct.
So I'm not sure that holding up on this is going to make any difference.
you know, this will not, we won't be able to close on these bonds if the zoning's not approved, quite frankly.
Exactly.
So this will allow so I don't want to mislead you at all here, because I thought everything was in place to move forward. I'm not handling the zoning on this particular
Understood.
side,
I'm
but
not sure it's a zoning problem. I think it's probably appropriately zoned. It's the height restriction concern that we have, right,
Yeah.
Joe?
That was the
I
design.
mean, zoning.
And
is gonna
it's a
allow-
design issue.
It's going to be the site plan issue.
Right,
Yeah.
it's a site plan issue, right?
so,
I mean, Jeff, you're familiar with that process pretty.
Yeah.
It's got multiple layers to that before
Yeah.
we.
and quite frankly, if you adopt this tonight, I'll commit to council. I won't move forward on the bond closing until all the other approvals are in place. So
Okay. Understood. Thanks for the explanation.
Excellent questions, Joe. Any other questions for Mr. Parsons?
Your call. It's your call.
Right, thank you. Any other questions for council, for administration? Discussion? We're gonna have to vote on this.
I'd like, I mean, you have an opinion about the 44 feet. Are you thinking that we're kind of doing something that's permanently going to affect the view of the river and it's going to be a bad thing down the road?
Oh, absolutely. That, in my opinion, 44 feet's too high, but as the discussion just cleared up, this vote here is on whether or not they can
Yeah.
apply for the IRB.
I get it.
It still has to be approved by planning and zoning on the 19th.
Yeah.
But if it's on schedule for the 19th. So it's really two separate issues. So it's whether or
But
not,
is it your feeling that this is a bad thing and we should show up for P and Z and make our voices heard because this is a bad thing up into the future, the 44 feet and.
well, I think it also depends on, we're getting into planning and zoning here versus
Yeah.
the IRB, but there's a pattern book that has been approved for down there. I don't know if there are any height restrictions. I just know this is the highest point on the flood wall.
Yes.
I remember the pattern book.
Right.
Do we still adhere to the pattern book?
Yes,
Is 44 feet okay in the pattern book?
it must be for it to be,
Really?
because otherwise it would have to go through the board of adjustments.
Okay.
So that would, I think at that point, that would be a planning and zoning meeting issue with, and at that point, we're part of the public input on that, and it's up to P and Z board to make that decision. Our decision here tonight is whether or not to
I know.
authorize the 9 million IRB.
Got it.
And I'm sorry to muddy the waters on that. I just wanted to clarify
Now's
that.
the time to say it.
That's why we're here. Any other conversation? I'd have preferred it to be earlier, but since we got into this discussion, I think we can have the conversation, sir. Podium can be yours. Name and address.
Jerry Huntley, 585 Manhattan. I apologize for being a couple minutes late.
It's all right.
Forgot about the meeting, to be honest with you.
It happens.
In reference to this, my only concern right now is that all of the IRB qualifications are not being met for current projects by the developer. Therefore, opening up another whole can of worms down the road when we can't get the first can of worms back in the can, I think it's an issue.
So Jerry, what specifically is not being met? Because I received communication from the city administrator saying that.
All IRB fees have been paid
Yes,
as of now.
Yes.
That's news to me. Okay, I'll take that
Yes.
back.
Is that your only concern?
Uh,
Fees?
That along with other liens and everything being put on properties.
So the communication that we got was everything has been
Up to date?
up to date.
Correct.
Everything is 100% up to date.
Yes.
Even school taxes.
We're not responsible for school taxes.
Okay,
They are. They do their own pilot and they get them.
okay. So the liens and stuff then have nothing to do with the IRB property whatsoever.
The existing or the proposed IRB property?
The existing.
That would be a legal question for city attorney and clerk. or Mr. Parsons possibly.
Yeah, unrelated to this group of developers, there was a lien that was filed on the Velo Riverside project that's getting resolved. Well, it's totally different developer.
Contractor lien.
Yeah, there was a contractor where actually the developer had actually paid the contractor, but then the contractor didn't in turn pay some of his suppliers. That's what's happened there. And under the IRB leases, we're committed, even in all the IRB leases, we're committed to have to get any liens released in the event they're filed and get those resolved. That has nothing to do with this developer, but I do know the only lien that I'm aware of, been made aware of, is the one on the construction of the Velo Riverside project. And that was just an unfortunate situation that the subcontractor that was doing that, I think may have filed bankruptcy or something, and he didn't, and then pay his supplier who filed a lien, but that's being resolved.
So
What are you considering the Riverside project?
The Velo Riverside is the very far
The one
project on
I'm
there.
talking about the blue building.
I haven't received any notice of any liens on, or from the city on any of the other projects.
So, Mr. Parsons, just to clarify, when you say we would be responsible, who is we? Is it
Under
the
the-
city?
No.
Okay.
The city has no responsibility at all, even on liens. In this case, you have no liability. What I'm talking about, under the IRB leases, under any IRB lease, not just the ones in Dayton, there's a firm obligation of the tenant to be responsible to pay any cost associated with the project. If there are liens, they have an obligation to get any liens released. Those are just common provisions in all IRB leases under this, because the city is not supposed to have any liability whatsoever.
Understood. Thanks for clarifying that.
So I just want to make sure we're clear here, because the communication I received was that all back payments and liens and everything has been paid 100% up to date. Is that not correct?
As far as we're concerned.
Okay, as far as the city's concerned.
Great conversation. Want to keep it going?
I'd like to call the question.
You want to call the motion?
Yes.
Motion to call by member Volter.
Yeah, make a motion to approve order resolution 2024-23R.
Member Volter has made the motion to approve. Do I have a second?
I will second. 2024, 23.
Member Lovins has made the second, which typically Robert's Rules of Orders opens this up for conversation. Anybody want to have more conversation? All right, so let's go ahead and do a roll call on this one, Ms. Klein, please.
Member Levens,
Aye.
Member Volter,
Aye.
Member Neary,
Aye.
Member Neiman,
Aye.
Member Kelly,
Aye.
Member Wyrick.
Aye.
The ayes have it, and I imagine, yes, sir.
If I may, because I understand Councilman Neary's comments, I'm the one that drafts all the documents. I've gotten too many projects down here not to have a bad relationship with the city. So I'll be sure that I'm not going to finalize the IRB closing until all the zoning issues are resolved.
I just wanted to clarify that this is not the final approval
it's
of the
not.
project, because people are going to say, you guys approved this and you blocked our view.
Yeah.
Gave away
It's
the
really
river.
up to planning and zoning.
That's right.
We consistently hear, you gave away the river.
Yeah.
And that's not on our agenda.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Parsons.
Can we make sure that meeting is on the calendar? In case any interested parties want to attend?
Well, I just put it on my calendar, but it might already be on the city calendar.
City calendar.
Let's see here. It might already be.
I
Let's
just
check it
want
out.
to clarify a lot. Public.
It is not. So, Mr. Barks, can you make sure that is?
I think we're waiting for the members to determine if there's going to be a quorum, but as soon as we know that, then we add it to the calendar.
I look forward to seeing everybody on the 19th. So the ayes have that, and it passed.
Who shows up?
Next up is the department director's monthly reports. And here in Dayton, we believe ladies should go first. So Ms. Patterson, she is the director of code enforcement. The podium is yours, ma'am.
All right. You have a copy of my report and Bill's report. There's, he's almost at the end of the line with the inspections. As far as code enforcement, this week, we're in training on our software program, so we're kind of in and out in between trainings. I would like to remind people that if you are going to get a dumpster, please get a permit. They need to be signed off by the fire department because some streets are tiny. With all the rehabs and cleanouts and things like that going on, there are dumpsters everywhere. So, other than that, do you have any questions? Grass has been very dry this month.
Makes your job a little easier,
So it
doesn't it?
makes my job a little easier. I don't know though. There's a lot of weeds. It seems like the weeds are growing, the grass is not. So
That's what weeds do.
yeah. So yeah, everything else is.
I don't know if you can answer this. When is our trash contract expire? Or are we in negotiations or?
It expires next year. Jay's working on an RFP now. So we'll have that ready to put out to see what it is we receive.
And I think it's gotten better. I think it was bad, then it got
bad.
worse, then it got really bad, then it got even worse. And then I think they finally have fully staffed for the city, and I think they've been better.
They also have a new manager.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, he's new.
And he's going to have a meeting with the mayor
Correct.
sometime later this month. So he'll be coming and speaking to us about issues and what solutions we have available to us.
We let them know in no uncertain terms about our displeasure with their service, about the hazards that their lack of being able to provide services to the city were. With folks not being able to get down the street in a wheelchair, that bothers me immensely. With trash rotting in people's backyards, all those different things, I let Republic Services know very boldly that we're not going to take it.
I think we have to do our part too. And the reason I ask this, I think it's a good time for us to look at what ordinances we need. And since the trash pickup is included with the property tax bills, I know it's too late for this year, but let's shoot for next year to maybe, let's require every rental unit to have a rented Republic tote.
Sure.
Because you look at some of these rental units, they got a half a house out there on the sidewalk. If they had one tote per unit, which makes it a lot easier and safer for these guys to pick up, which
Mhm.
makes it quicker so you don't have the delays. You could still call for if you had too much stuff.
Right.
And maybe even look at the recycling as part of the, other cities are
Cost.
doing this where they include recycling for every residence rather than voluntary.
All of these things you're talking about would be part of contract negotiations with the RFP and the bidders. We would negotiate with them on maybe providing toters to each house or property, recycling days, things like that. So these are all things that we'll be discussing in that RFP package.
Great, great. And you
I'm
think
with you
that-
too, because a lot of landlords are like, look, well, I'm not going to pay $100 for a toter that they're going to pack their stuff in when they leave and take the toter.
Right.
So I think looking forward, we're going to look at something with them providing,
Would that help?
hopefully. I think so. I mean,
I believe
me personally, I have a Rumpke at my house, and if my toter breaks, they come right away and fix it or replace it, so it's great. So everybody would have a lid that worked and things like that. So I think it would definitely help.
I think it
Um,
would help Public Works too with the amount of trash
Sure.
that sometimes is all over the place.
Yeah.
Um,
And also on that note, reminding people to, like, we had a lot of calls when there was a backlog with the trash, and a couple people I'd go out and see and I'd say, hey, did you even call for a large pickup? They're like, we didn't even know we had to do that because their garbage had sat. And I just remind people, even if you think it's not a large set out, it might be to them. And just, if there's a call on record, that's makes our job so much easier when you call and say they didn't pick it up. So,
I'm glad administration's looking at that.
oh yeah, we've
I wanted to
been,
get that in front.
we
of
have
the
been
discussions.
had a lot of
The only
communication with
thing
them.
I'll say about that, and the negotiations are coming up, is that our garbage tax right now is extremely cheap.
Mhm.
It is.
Extremely.
It is.
You can count on it going up. It's going to go up. I don't know how significantly, but it will go up because.
We got a killer deal.
Yes.
Actually losing money on us, the company is, they wanted to renegotiate the price increase during the contract period, and we denied that.
Yeah, we went in with Bellevue on this years ago, got a killer deal, and they are not happy with the deal that we got, but you got to live up to it, contract.
Mm-hmm. All right. If you have any questions, you can email me anytime. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Patterson. Mr. Lucas, Public Works is up next. It's Rick's favorite time of the month. He loves addressing. I love you. I know how much you love addressing.
Yeah.
Council.
Well, we've been working with Jay and I guess Jared on the paving contracts, and I think we got a couple out. And then we also got a couple other streets that we're putting on the paving list. Your place,
River Point.
River Point, yeah. And then we got the circle up there on right up in Dayton Avenue going up towards Chateau. And a couple other places, some striping, crack sealing. And today we cut a hole on Second Street. It's about 19 feet by 18 feet. Took out 8 inches deep of concrete. We're gonna be pouring that, if not tomorrow, Thursday. And then we got another one just like it, just down a little bit farther where the road was actually caving in. So we've been busy. Grass has helped us by slowing down, but we're still dealing with weeds, and I think we're all cut up on all the alleys. So we got all them done, and other than that, we're busy. Anybody got? Joe, you got something for me?
Coming down the hill, I'll flash back to old council days. There's a dead skunk in the middle of the road
I
up
saw
on
it.
Dayton Pike.
I saw
Is
it.
he still there?
On the
He
right
ain't
hand,
stinking to high heaven.
right hand side of the road.
He'll be gone by the morning, Rick. Don't worry.
Some dog's gonna find it.
Yeah.
How's your staffing looking?
Right now, we're doing all right. I mean, we got 4 guys, and I think Ricky comes back either end of this week or next Monday. He's been off for a while.
How's his hand doing?
Um,
Better if he's coming back, I guess.
Oh, yeah. He's been off for a
Wish him
while.
luck.
Yeah, he's been off since what, almost 3.5 months.
Wow, yeah, you got cut up pretty bad.
Yep.
Everybody's healing.
But no, everybody's, working. And like I said, we did a lot of work on that street today, and a little less on the streets right now. But I mean, we're going to be on these 2 projects for a while. And then we're going to get back on the river walkway. So, yep, we're doing it
Good.
a little bit at a time.
Yeah, questions for Mr. Lucas?
Okay.
All right. Enjoy your evening, sir.
Let me think, I might have one.
You have one? Oh,
No.
she's not gonna do it to you. Chief Hatfield, Police Department, please.
Right, so with graduating Cooper and promoting Sergeant Keene, we've also had a busy August. So we were lucky up to pretty much to the end of August. We got busy, but the guys did a really good job. The cases that were coming our way, arrests have been made and cases have been closed. So that's a good thing. Secondly, with the graduation of Cooper, Officer Howe brought in some pumpkin pie that is over there to celebrate the graduation. So that if people can eat that before they leave, he wishes somebody would eat it so he didn't have to take it home. So other than that, you have my report. And any questions on that?
Yeah, 56 parking complaints. That's like 2 a day.
We have a-
Are these calls coming in from people or?
Yeah. Yeah. Some of them are most of them are coming in from people, but also we're enforcing, increased enforcement in the parking, creates a CAD. So that does create a call.
Okay.
So it's about half and half.
All right.
We do get a lot of complaints.
Chief, how's our, in your opinion, how's our lease program working?
Lease program's
Yeah.
working out great. These other cars that we need aren't getting here fast enough because of the other 3 that we have left over. I believe when I first bought them 10 years ago, they're kind of on their last leg. They're 2015s. We got 3 of them, I believe. So these cars can't get here quick enough, but these other cars are working out perfect.
Good. Good.
Yeah. No complaints there.
We had that thing with Urban and 10th and the parking on the sidewalks and blah, blah, blah. So it's still like absolutely not everywhere. Is that what it is now?
It's not everywhere.
Not
It's
everywhere.
only in certain
So in
spots.
Upper Dayton, you can still park on the sidewalk.
You can still park on the sidewalk. We're not going to enforce it because technically you're pushing the cars into the street and would make it impassable.
I know.
There's just,
Well, Jay said we're going to get sued one of these days. We can't do that.
well, we have to come up with a solution because the cars that are parking on the sidewalk are not giving right of way to
Anybody.
handicap.
Yeah.
Anybody in a wheelchair needs to be able to get through. So we need to coordinate some space for somebody who is disabled to be able to pass through.
Right.
So
okay.
we are in the process of figuring that out.
So up there in Dayton, you can still do that, but on 10th and Urban, you'll get a ticket for parking on the sidewalk now?
Well,
You get a ticket for the lodge for parking.
it
on the
depends
sidewalk.
how you're parking on a sidewalk. If you're parking your whole car on a sidewalk, that is not acceptable. And if it's not ADA accessible, that's not acceptable. So if you are putting one tire on the curb or something like that, or on the sidewalk, we're okay with that. I mean,
Everywhere.
not everywhere.
Not everywhere.
Yeah, just certain, I mean, if
No.
certain areas of the town, obviously there was, what is it? The 500 block of 4th is, or 400 block of 4th, I believe, is an area where the squad can't get through. And some people acknowledge that and park just a tire on the curb or on the sidewalk to give the squad more room. That's acceptable. But if there's an area where there's no reason to, plenty of room to get through, then yeah.
Sixth
get to-
Avenue is not is not an area to park your car on the sidewalk.
That's correct.
Yeah.
We have decided on that before. People were parking on the sidewalk to avoid their vehicles from being struck.
Is there a list where you all have the streets listed as far as which streets it's okay to do it, which streets it's not? I know that's probably a challenge, but also I can see in the community's minds this kind of, it's up to the officer, you don't really.
Officer's
know.
discretion, yeah.
Yeah, and I think maybe some transparency there would be good.
Okay.
Wouldn't that be a city issue? Wouldn't that be
Mhm.
like administration to decide that? Would that be decided by the police department? What streets?
I believe,
allowed and what's not?
I believe the last time I think something like this came up it was a city council issue on different directions of parking on the hills on Thornton, Walnut and stuff like that. The council came together and came up with, yeah, so pretty much the same thing.
Enforce it.
Yeah, it'd be pretty much the same thing.
I'm just trying to save you instead of throwing the blame on you guys
Yeah.
and you're going to take the heat.
Yeah.
Technically, it should
Yeah.
come from administration
Yeah.
and council.
We
And then
enforce
you
your,
enforce
yeah,
it once
we enforce your
agree
guys'
to it.
ruling. If you guys, decide to change something, then we enforce that. So,
Well, you would advise, right? I mean,
Yes.
You know best.
Yes.
So we would take your advice. probably.
Yes.
And it also includes input from the fire department
Yeah.
because of their
Yeah.
equipment so big.
Mhm.
Not to put you on the spot, sir. But yeah, I think it's an administration issue.
We just need to get a map and let fire chief highlight where we have issues. Let Chief Hatfield do his thing, and then we get together and it's no longer up to who's in a good mood, which officer wants to do this, who's complaining the most. We have kind of direct order. Because we keep going over this issue, I feel like, every single month.
Mhm.
And
Well,
kind
speaking of
pushing
which,
the blame.
we got that report from Mr. Yeager. Is that his name? Are we talking about that, or is that a different time? He had his findings in that email.
I believe we're waiting for a cost analysis for, yeah, that's what it said. Said it was waiting on a cost analysis and we would pick it up after that comes to us.
So where'd that end? Are we getting the list? Are we letting that go? Or administration?
It's something we work on.
Okay.
Table it.
Fully
Send it
staffed,
to
sir?
Jay, tell him you want it
Yes.
on the agenda.
Yep, fully staffed for the last couple months, so that's good.
Sweet.
Hopefully we stay that way.
Fully staffed with new
Let's
cars.
just blame Dave for
Yep.
everything.
What a difference. Any other questions for Chief Hatfield? Chief, you have a good evening, sir.
Thank you.
Last but not least, Chief Atkins in the fire department. Sir, my pleasure.
You'll have my report, just a quick amendment to that. I'll shortchange this on the EMS runs. We actually made 136 runs instead of 128. Beyond that, not a whole lot else to add. Fireworks went off without a hitch. The guys on the boat, I think had 4 or 5 contacts with people for different things, mostly boats broke down, tangled up and buoy lines, things like that. Beyond that, I don't have a whole lot to add. We are still too short. We're probably going to be looking at maybe doing some part-time just to kind of supplement. My medics are just getting beat up on the ambulance. So other than that, I don't have a whole lot else to add.
Excellent work on the fireworks. Always a interesting time of the year.
It is.
That's why I usually leave the city that day. I'm glad you guys stuck around.
Very good.
Great.
All
Any
right.
questions for the chief? You have a great evening, sir.
Thank you.
As I mentioned, City Administrator Mr. Fawcett is with his wife tonight on vacation. So in his stead, we have Assistant Administrator Jared Barks. Jared, do you have a report for us tonight?
Yes, wanted to give an update on the Sergeant Park Recreational Trail Program. We have a signed contract with Cincinnati Off-Road Alliance, also known as CORA, who will be heading up that work. We received that signed contract today. So they just finished a different project in another city, so they're going to get started pretty immediately on that project. So we should see some construction and some trail building happening there. We approved a facade grant through the DBA program for 607 6th Avenue, which some people will know as the Cherry Creek Cabinets building. It's going to have gutters, improvements. It's going to be painted in a new facade. And they've already started that work. Music Fest is this Saturday from 5 to 11 p.m. We are looking for volunteers to run the beer booth. The city is going to be running that booth, and I think typically in the past, city personnel and city council have been managing that. I will prove everything today, so if any of you have availability to fill a slot to do that, please let me know. The last thing I have, City Clerk Tristan Klein scheduled an insurance meeting, a health insurance meeting for all the employees. This is the first time that I know of the city has done this. We had a representative and agents from our various health insurance companies come and explain all the benefits to the employees so they had a better understanding of that, and then gave them the offering of all the other benefits that they can take advantage of. So that was something new that we did, and I think it was well received by the staff.
Thank you, Mr. Barks. Do we have any questions for him? Thank you very much. I believe you might be doing this again next month, right? Mr. Fawcett booked all his vacations before we changed our council schedule. So He tried, but just didn't work out for him. So we'll see you next month, sir. Now we'd like to open up the podium for anybody from the audience who'd like to discuss anything. The Bengals score. Don't bring that up. Name and address, please, sir.
Yes, Aaron Judd, 410 6th Avenue, also a candidate for city council. So I'm just kind of here observing, taking it all in, jotting down some notes, go stuff like that. Just a couple like governance type questions, hopefully should be quick answers on this thing. So the first one is there a listing somewhere of all these different legislative items where there's red line versions or a summary of changes that happens? Or is it strictly just always the brand new, fresh copy of everything?
I don't think there's a red.
Typically, whenever we have an ordinance that's like an update of an ordinance, the version that they vote on has the red lines through it that shows what the amendment is, unless it's just repealing and replacing like we did with subdivision regulations tonight.
Okay.
But all of our old ordinances are also available online right now because typically gets updated once a year on the codified version. So those are still available.
Perfect. Thank you. Number 2 on the list is, I guess, more of a question. Why do we provide time for public comment at the very beginning before all the legislative items and before discussion by council versus doing it on a line item by line item?
We did that years ago because we used to only have audience participation at the end, and by then everything was voted on. So having audience participation in the beginning on the legislative issues, which are published publicly beforehand, allows anybody, if they have any input on what we're going to vote on. But then at the end, we have this, and it seems to be working out pretty well. We've been doing it
Yeah.
like this for about 6 or 8 years now.
It's for the flow.
Yeah.
It's for the flow. It used to be people were screaming in the middle and, or at the end. As you saw tonight, and at the end, it's too late, it's already been passed. What are you going to do? So
Right.
we wanted to make it more agreeable to the public so that they could say, hey, I've read the ordinances, I've read the resolutions, and I've got a problem with X, Y, and Z. Before council and administration would vote on that. Then, like, as you saw tonight, Mr. Huntley had an issue with the IRBs, and, we welcomed him up to discuss
Right.
it. It worked out all right. So, as long as everybody's civil and works out like that, that's great. That's why we do it that way.
Sound logic to me. I like it. And the last item, I know we had mentioned in the budget that there was going to be some larger assets purchased in the near future. A lot of them for city use, I assume. Those assets that we're purchasing and using, are they multi-use facilities or are they kind of is it going to be building a city council meeting facility and that's all it's used for, or is there multiple uses for these items?
Do you have something in particular that you're addressing?
Not necessarily anything particular. I just know in the budget, we're now starting to pencil in items for setting funds aside for large purchases on fixed assets like buildings and whatnot down the road. I just didn't know if there was plans for like using a space like this could be a good spot you could rent out too and make additional income for the city, but we don't, right? So is that going to be something down the road that you guys are considering?
That would be up to the council and the mayor to determine that. The items in the budget, I think that you're addressing are going to be the public works garage. It's had structural issues, the current one that we have. So we're looking at building a new one for them. So that's going to be where the city equipment is stored. So obviously the public is not going to be allowed in there, And the other major one is going to be a new city building, which my assumption is going to have council chambers. So it's going to be a room similar to this where the community is invited in to attend meetings. And that's going to pool the meetings from this building to that one, and what the council and the mayor decide to do with this facility after the fact, I'm not sure.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Judd. The podium is still open for anyone who would like to address city council and administration. Yes, sir. Name and address, please. Thank you, Aaron.
Yeah,
901 Fifth Avenue, Spears Court. Back in January, a vehicle was involved in an accident at the high school parking lot. And when I got the accident report, the damage on my truck doesn't line up with what it says on the accident report. So I went to the police department the day of this report, that was January 26th. And I was trying to get this police officer to see if I could speak with him about, what he wrote and what actually had the damage to my vehicle. And for 30 days, well, Lieutenant Baldwin sent an email because there was nobody at the police desk. Okay, Lieutenant Baldwin sent an email, and for 30 days, this police officer didn't contact me. So I called the chief, and I asked him about it. I said, I accident report to discuss with me. And well, first he told me he's not going to have the guy change the report. And on this recorded phone call, you never hear me ask him to change the report. The second statement was, how do I know this girl who was driving the vehicle that night didn't have another accident? And that's the damage you're trying to claim now. And both of us said at the beginning of this conversation that we were both under the weather. We weren't feeling good. And I wasn't on top of my game that day. I asked the chief, I said, so you're not even going to look at the damage to my vehicle? I got a flat out no. So here I am with you. I came here to talk to you about this last month, but you weren't here. It's no problem. I mean, this has been going on since January. I don't know where to turn this. I have a date stamp picture on my phone of the damage to my vehicle the day after this accident. You want to take a look at it?
I'll take a look at it. I mean, not the second. Oh, you get the picture.
You want
me to come to you? All right.
This guy's summary says that this girl pulled into the parking lot and she clipped the back bumper of the truck that was backing out. But the police officer yelled stop, and this guy stopped, but she kept on going. Okay. He claims that she clipped the bottom of his bumper of that vehicle number 2. And so, as you can see here, look at my door and look at the bed of my truck. That's 3 separate points of impact. It's not even mentioned in this accident report.
So you're saying that she hit the
No,
back
I'm
cab
saying
here?
This guy backing out or whoever he was backed into the side of my truck, slammed into my truck. With such an impact, he came back and he hit it again with the bed. My truck has 2 separate hits, 4 points of impact. This says it's 1 point of impact. Also in this police officer's summary, he states there is no visible damage to vehicle number 2.
You want me to comment, Mayor, whenever you're ready?
I always love legal comments.
Okay. So have you filed a claim with your insurance company?
I liability.
Okay. So have you filed a claim against the party that struck your vehicle?
Yeah, liability. I wasn't driving the truck.
That's part.
Wasn't covered.
No. That was my question. So the person that struck your vehicle was not covered?
Sorry?
The person that struck your vehicle was not covered?
Well, according to the accident report, none of that information, his information is filled out. Yeah, he has insurance. Okay, I had insurance at the time too. But like I said, we both only had liability.
If it's okay, Mayor, I'll be happy to talk to him afterwards and kind of give him perspective, and I'll be able to kind of walk you through the procedure. But as a general rule, the city is not in a position to change the report because of the officer that was there at the scene. It's their present sense impression as well as a review of all the different facts that give rise to that report. Now, I will tell you that a report is almost always hearsay. So everything that's in the report is hearsay anyway. It's about who said what, when, whatever happened.
He says he's not a witness.
So I will be more than happy to talk
The
to you.
officer says he's not a witness.
The report itself is hearsay. So I'll be more than happy to talk to you about it after the meeting and hopefully point you in the right direction if that's okay with you.
Where else would I go?
That's my point. I'll help.
We're giving you a place to go.
Okay.
But you're asking for some legal conclusions from the mayor and the city. And
I'm asking him to look into the accident report.
I understand that. And as a city attorney, I'm happy to talk to you about what other recourse you have. Okay?
That's pretty good. That's
Happy to do it.
Alex, I really appreciate that. So that's a
This is the second time I'm asking, like, your assistant. First I was at your office, I still have the first page of documentation I have.
what was that?
That any arrest report, any concluded police report, pre-administration, I have no documentation of police investigation, crime investigation was turned in. or any copy of any arrest report that keep your probate work on
What do you want an arrest report on?
cases in which I was a victim of a crime,
Okay.
right? And I haven't had the first one.
So I'll also talk to you about the open records request. We can fill out the necessary form and we're happy to produce it.
Rusty's administration, according to everyone, that didn't exist.
I understand. So again, I'll walk you through that process as well. So we'll handle both of them tonight. How's that?
Okay, you gonna be here then too?
I'm here with him.
I mean, when he talks to me.
Honestly, I mean, it's not necessary that he's here, but you know, if the mayor wants to stick around, that's fine, but I'm happy to give you all the information you need on both issues.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Appreciate it.
No problem. The podium is still open for anybody else with comments, questions, concerns for administration. All right. We're going to close that. New business. Would council like to have any new business to bring up?
Everybody looks at me. No.
I don't know why. Usual suspects. All right, and just want to go ahead and remind everybody that this weekend we're having the music festival. Thank you, Jared, for bringing that up. Hope to see everybody at Gill Lynn between the hours of 5 and 11. Lots of good music, lots of raising money for Light Up Dayton and other great things. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion's been made by Member Neary. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Member Neiman. All in favor?
Aye.
Have a great month, guys.
A mouse on Saturday. I gave him a biscuit.
Forget about the pie.
Oh yeah, don't forget there's free pie over there.
Yeah. And that